Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something pretty heavy. Abductions in Kenya and the response from young Adventist professionals. So
that's interesting.
We've got two sources for you today, one from Adventist Today and one from a news piece in The Star.
Okay.
And we really want to understand what's happening, why this is important, and what it means for the rest of the world.
Yeah, what are the implications of this whole thing?
Exactly. So the Adventist Today article, it starts by telling us about this guy named Ronnie Kiplangit.
Okay.
And he was abducted
from
a Seventh-day Adventist church in Kenya on December 21st, 2024.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, right out of a church service.
That's intense. If they're willing to go into a church, what else are they willing to do?
Right. And it's not even a one-time thing. Kenya has been seeing a ton of these,
a wave of these things.
A wave of these things.
Enforced disappearances.
Yeah, it's a scary term.
It is.
Is this something that we've seen historically? I know. And the Kenyan government hasn't come out and said anything officially.
Oh, really?
So it's completely unacknowledged.
It seems like everyone's pointing to the government.
From the sources and the people who witnessed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, why Ronnie?
Yeah, what makes him so special?
He wasn't even politically active or anything.
Huh. Well, that's kind of where it takes a turn.
Okay.
So Ronnie himself, he wasn't super outspoken against the government, but his brother, Gideon Kibet, also known as Kibet Bull.
Okay.
He's this cartoonist who's known for his criticism.
Oh, so they went after his brother.
Yeah, it's a chilling thought, isn't it? How far will they go?
I know. And now there's this group called the Young Adventist Professionals of Kenya.
Okay.
YAP Kenya.
YAP Kenya.
Got it.
And they're understandably upset.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
They released a statement.
Oh, wow.
That was in both of the articles.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it seems like they're making themselves heard.
That's good. They're using their voice.
Yeah, and they're making 3 demands.
Okay, let's hear them.
1, they want all these abducted kids to be released immediately and without any conditions.
Breaks sense.
2, they want the government to promise to respect places of worship.
Good.
And 3, they want the government to stop making people disappear and start respecting what the courts say.
It's pretty straightforward.
It is, right.
What's going on here?
And one of the things that YAP Kenya is saying is that the government campaigned on Christian values.
Oh, interesting.
But now they're violating churches.
Oh, so they're going against what they said they were going to do.
Exactly. Doesn't really add up.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
And YAP Kenya doesn't stop there. They go on to argue that these abductions are because young people are speaking out.
Speaking out against the government.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you're not handling the money right.
Okay.
There's no jobs. And you're breaking all your promises from the campaign.
So they're speaking truth to power. And the government doesn't like that.
It seems like it, right?
So are they just trying to silence them through fear then?
So they can stay in control?
Is this a power play?
I think so.
Yeah, we've seen this happen before.
Right. It never ends well.
It's a scary thought.
And don't forget, Kenya has to follow international law.
Yeah.
That declaration on the elimination of all forms of intolerance and discrimination based on religion or belief from 1981.
Okay.
Yeah, that document basically says you got to protect worshipers and places of worship.
So they're going against that too then?
It seems like it's like they're trying to play both sides. Appeal to religious voters, but then go and do stuff like this.
Yeah. It's interesting. Let's see what happened next.
Okay, so there are some updates on the abductions.
Okay.
As of January 6th, 2025, 4 people, including Ronnie Kiplangit.
Oh, so he was one of the 4.
Yeah, have been released.
That's good news, at least.
Right.
But what about the others?
Well, Gideon Kibet, the cartoonist we talked about.
Okay.
And another guy named Steve Kavango.
Right.
They're still missing.
Oh, so it's not over yet?
No, it's not over.
Those poor families.
I know. They must be going through hell.
Yeah, how do you even cope with that?
And YAP Kenya ends their statement with a really powerful call to action.
Oh, wow. What do they say?
They're basically saying, hey, Kenyans, we need to stand up to this.
Okay.
And media keep reporting on this.
Yeah.
Don't let them sweep this under the rug.
Keep shining that light.
Yeah. And they're also calling on the whole world to hold Kenya accountable.
Yeah, right. Make sure they're following the rules.
Yeah. So what do you think about that approach? Do you think it will work?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's a bold move.
Yeah, it is.
It's risky, for sure.
Yeah.
But if they can keep the pressure on,
yeah,
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they can force some real change.
Maybe. So it really makes you think about the power of activism.
Yeah, and the bravery.
Like they're putting themselves out there.
They are.
Yeah.
And that takes guts.
It does.
Especially when you're up against something so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
It's inspiring.
It is.
That shows that even when things are scary and uncertain,
yeah,
speaking up can make a difference.
Right. It's like that saying, one voice can change the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here.
We have.
The abductions themselves,
right.
YAP Kenya's response, and what this means for Kenya and maybe even beyond.
Yeah, it's complex.
It is.
And there are definitely still a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I think we've gotten a better understanding of the situation.
I agree.
We've unpacked it a bit.
Yeah.
And we've started to see what's really going on behind the scenes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think about all the people who stand up and do what's right.
Yeah, like YAP Kenya.
Exactly, like they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah, big time.
So the Star article, it actually goes even deeper into their statement.
Oh, okay.
And they really connect these abductions with young people criticizing the government.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just a random thing.
No, it's like they're saying if you speak out,
you might disappear.
Exactly.
That's scary.
It is.
So what are they criticizing specifically?
Well, they're talking about government finances,
okay,
unemployment, and, all those broken promises from the election.
Right. Like, those are pretty common issues, though.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder why Kenya is resorting to this.
Yeah. Like, why are they going so extreme?
I know. And it brings us back to that point about Christian values.
Oh, yeah. The hypocrisy.
Yeah, like they campaigned on that whole image.
Right. They presented themselves as the good guys.
But their actions don't really match up?
No, not at all.
So is it a strategy?
Maybe they're just manipulating people.
Could be. It's not exactly new.
No. Like using religion to control people?
Sadly, no.
Yeah, it's happened throughout history.
Exactly. And that's why what YAP Kenya is doing is so important.
Yeah, they're not letting them get away with it.
They even say that churches are becoming places of fear.
Oh, wow. So it's like the opposite of what they should be.
Right. Churches should be safe.
Yeah, a sanctuary.
Exactly. But it shows how these abductions are affecting everyone.
Right. It's creating this climate of fear.
And they bring up international law again.
Okay.
That declaration on the elimination of all forms of intolerance and discrimination based on religion or belief from 1981, which says you got to protect places of worship.
So they're violating that too?
Yeah, and they're calling the government out on it.
What do they say?
They say the government is the very agent of desecration.
Wow. That's strong.
Yeah, they're not holding back.
No, they're not.
And remember how we talked about those court orders?
Yeah.
The High Court actually told the government to release some of those people.
Oh, really?
But they just ignored it.
So they're not even listening to the courts?
Nope. It's like they think they're above the law.
That's not good.
And it sets a dangerous precedent.
Right. Like, what's next?
Exactly.
What?
So let's get back to those updates.
Okay.
Ronnie and some others are free.
That's good.
But Gideon.
The cartoon.
Yeah. And Steve Kavango.
Right.
They're still missing.
Oh, man. It's just awful for those families.
I know. It makes you think about the real human cost of all this.
Yeah. Like, these are real people with lives and families.
And the government just took them away.
It's heartbreaking.
So what kind of leadership does that?
Right. Like, are they really serving the people?
Okay. Before we get too down, let's look at what YAP Kenya is asking people to do.
Okay. Their call to action.
Yeah. They want Kenyans to stand together.
Okay.
They want the media to keep reporting, and they're asking the world to hold Kenya accountable.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah. It shows that change needs to come from everywhere.
Right. Like, it can't just be one group or one country.
And it reminds us that we all have a responsibility.
Even if it's not happening in our own backyard.
Exactly. Like, we can't just turn a blind eye.
So what can we do?
Well, we can support organizations like YAP Kenya.
Okay.
We can tell our own governments to care about human rights.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we need to stay informed.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more we know, the more we can do.
And we can use our voices.
Yeah. Even if it's just talking to our friends.
Right. Or sharing information online.
It all adds up.
Yeah. Every little bit helps.
So, okay. We've covered a lot.
We have.
The abductions, YAP Kenya's brave response, and the bigger picture of what this all means.
It's definitely a lot to think about.
It is. And for me, it all comes back to those who are still missing.
Gideon and Steve.
Yeah.
What happens to them?
It's hard to say. Like, their situation is so uncertain.
And it shows just how fragile things are.
Right, like it could happen to anyone.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to ask you this.
Okay, shoot.
What can people do to make sure that people in Kenya are safe and free to speak their minds?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? What happens now?
It is. Like their families are just waiting.
I know, it's awful.
Yeah.
So as we finish up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What can people do, both in Kenya and around the world, to ensure that people in Kenya can speak freely and stay safe?
It's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Where do we even start?
Well, I think we have to keep talking about this.
Okay.
Don't let these stories be forgotten.
Yeah, shine a light on what's happening.
Exactly. And hold those in power accountable.
Right. Make them answer for their actions.
And we can support groups like YP Kenya.
Yeah. They're doing incredible work.
They are. They're putting themselves at risk.
And we can talk to our own governments.
Yeah, tell them to make human rights a priority.
Like when they're dealing with other countries.
Exactly. It should be at the top of the list.
And knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
So the more we learn about what's happening in Kenya and other places where this kind of stuff is going down, the more we can do to help.
Exactly.
We can use our platforms too.
Yeah, no matter how big or small.
Even just talking to our friends and family.
Right. Sharing information online.
It all makes a difference.
It does. Even small actions can add up. It's like we're all part of this bigger movement.
For change.
Yeah. And it's not always easy.
No, it's not.
But it's so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't just sit back and do nothing.
So to sum up this deep dive.
Okay.
The fight for human rights. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It needs our attention.
Our action.
And our commitment to not let these stories disappear.
Well said.
So let's keep fighting for justice.
Yeah.
Speak truth to power.
And work towards a world where everyone's rights are respected.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for having me on this deep dive. It's been heavy but important.
It has been. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Stay curious, stay informed.
And stay engaged.
We'll see you next time.